Well, hi there everybody, my name is Torinagai. I am a model, dancer, actress, artist, streamer, and I really hate Valentine's Day. It's just one of those holidays, kinda like my birthday or New Year, where all the pressure regarding the expectations towards the specialness of that day, it just always somehow happens to ruin it for me. In my whole life, I have never had a good Valentine's Day, regardless whether I was single or I had a partner at the time. But 2 years ago, it so happened to me that my life has gifted me a very special Valentine's Day, which was just a totally ridiculous and bonkers experience. And since I wanted to cheer myself up on this very particularly hard to deal with socially, internationally, on the public platform sort of day, I just decided to kinda take the piss out of it and tell you about this most ridiculous Valentine's Day experience I've had, which till this day is probably also the best one, just because it's the most memorable Valentine's Day that I had. So if you also, for whatever reason, are just not having the best Valentine's Day, or you just want to cheer yourself up on the 14th of February for whatever reason, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this story. One incredibly important preface that I have to make to this video is please don't do any of the things that I have done in this story. In my circumstances, I felt safe and I felt good enough that I could have made the decisions I made, but that does not necessarily mean I would ever recommend people doing the things that I have done in the story. It may be a slightly controversial, certain decisions that I made, but I still think it amounted to some pretty interesting experience that I had 2 years ago. So with that in mind, here it goes. I'm also gonna be showing you little clips and photos from my trip, so maybe that's gonna make the viewing slightly more interesting. So 2 years ago, the year of our Lord 2019 it was this very different time when I owned the massive privilege of traveling around the world. I have decided to take a trip around South America. I went there all by myself. Nobody wanted to go with me, so I just went by myself. I'm just kind of this type of person. I visited Argentina, Uruguay, then I went to Bolivia, and then I stumbled by Peru. Went there for about 2 weeks, and that's where Valentine's Day caught me. I was in the middle of my Peru adventure. I just arrived in the Secret Valley, which is the whole valley in the Andes where the Machu Picchu is. And I was staying over in this tiny little village called Pisac. I was in that village because the next day I was supposed to depart for a Machu Picchu journey from that location. So I just had one spare day to just spend in that little village, and I had absolutely no plan for the whole day. I remember waking up on that day and just deciding I'm just gonna spend the whole day by myself, meditate, take some good care of myself and show myself as much self-love as I possibly can. I went to this gorgeous natural reserve sort of park. I sat by a little waterfall, had about an hour of meditation. I just felt so super enlightened and elevated, all that stuff. I remember coming down from that mountain, just this lightness inside me and a big hunger in my belly. And that's basically when our story begins. So I'm coming down that pathway from the mountain, and right at the edge of this village where I was starting, there were just sitting those guys which sell their artesanías. Artesanías are just those tiny little handmade things made from rocks, metal, little pieces of jewelry or whatever. They're just like over there with their blankets selling their stuff. And one of them started shouting at me and calling me up. I usually just ignore those sort of call outs because I don't have all the money in the world to buy all the artesanías of all the people who ever offer it to me wherever I travel. But this time, this guy was shouting at me something like, "Oh, I'll make this for you for free." So I was like, well, what the hell? And that's where my previous point comes in about being careful with what you do, and please don't do what I have decided to necessarily do in this case. But I have just stopped by, sat down on this blanket with this guy while he incredibly skillfully started making this earring for me. It was at this point of my editing process that I realized I have not described this guy in any way, so let me give you this little demonstration. He was pretty short and he had this really long dark hair almost to his feet. I couldn't tell how old he was, probably not older than 30, but it was kinda hard to tell because his skin was quite touched by the sun and the wind. I also remember his smell very distinctly. He smelled like fresh ground, which, to be fair, I don't really find to be a particularly pleasant smell. And I think I also need to make one point very clear. I actually did not find this guy attractive in any way, shape or form. Alright, now we get it out of the way, let's get back to the story. And this guy just started talking. He started talking and talking and talking. What was he talking about? Well, it was pretty clear to him that I'm very, to put it in the simple terms, very hippie. I had like the most colorful pair of pants in my wardrobe, all the like crazy earrings, some crystals, like a hairband, don't remember exactly, but I definitely looked super hippie. So he started talking to me about some hippie-ass shit, but also hippie-ass shit regarding his culture, because what it turned out, he was an Inca. Incas are one of the most native tribes of that region. It's an incredibly old civilization. I've been personally fascinated with Incas, and since he said that he was Inca, like that kind of interested me. I started asking him some questions about this and that, and what are the beliefs. I don't exactly remember what he said because, as you will later find out, throughout that day, this person said a lot of different things to me, and I only remembered the most ridiculous ones out of it. But I just remember he wouldn't stop talking. At the same time, he was crafting this earring. I'm really sorry, I tried to find it to show you, but I don't have it. And he gave it to me truly for free. And then he suggested me to just go somewhere, so he tells me more about the Inca culture. Well, I told him I was quite hungry, so he's like, oh, no worries, we're just gonna go to the market, grab something, and then go somewhere so we can chat, and I'll tell you about my Inca culture. Since I was hungry and I had no idea where to get food in that little village, I said, okay, just like show me where the market is. He took me to the market, and that's one thing that I really love about meeting local people in specific places, because they can just show you the things that a tourist will never know about. He just approached this lady sitting there with a bag. I would never even assume that she had some food. And he asked her for something. Oh, she just opened up the bag. She had all those pots of vegetables, because I told him I was eating vegan. And so she gave me like all those beans, rice, and some really nutritious, delicious vegan food. So I was really happy. So I took all of that takeaway. And then he just like super fast told me to go with him. This is the part where I really wanna make it very clear. When someone tells you, especially a man to a woman, but of course it can go all other ways, go with me somewhere private, and you don't know that person, I would never advise you to follow through. The reason why I said yes was because, in all fairness, in no way did I feel threatened by this person. He was comparing to me incredibly small, to be fair. I am a solid 70 kilos, 1 meter, 75 centimeters of a woman. He was maybe up to here for me. I just honestly physically did not feel threatened at all. It still probably wasn't very smart of a move, and I would never advise anyone to just go. But at that time of my life, I was on an adventure. I went on all this 2-month-long trip around South America. Now, after a year of lockdown, thinking about those times just makes me really shed a tear about what an amazing life I used to have. Oh well. Cheers to that. So anyhow, since I didn't really feel threatened by him and I had my head open to adventures, I decided to follow through. And so he led me slightly outside from that little town, and what was around the town were cornfields, and he led me into a cornfield. We went through the corn quite deep into the field, and it already started raining a little bit of dribbling, very humid weather over there. But he was really already prepared for all of that. He put down the blanket, his coat that he had, he tied his coat to the corn, so we had like a little roof over our heads, so it wasn't dribbling on us. And we sat down and I started eating my food, and he started telling me about his Inca culture. Just to let you know, because I don't think I mentioned, we are all talking only in Spanish. I can speak fluent Spanish, although I'm nowhere close to like a level of language proficiency that a native person would have. So I could maybe understand like 50 to 60% of words that he was saying. I could understand the general meaning. Once you have like a bunch of words, you can kind of figure out the meaning. And I was just listening to him. We sat there for a very long time. And I was all this time just wondering, what is this guy really doing? Is this some sort of very elaborate plan of bringing out some hippie touristic girls into a cornfield to then seduce them or do something to them? I don't know, at no point did he give me like a malicious vibe, but I was perfectly aware that this is a very weird sort of behavior, but I was just analyzing him and like trying to see where this is going. Was he genuine, or did he want something from me? Or what was this all about? So he was talking and talking and talking. He told me about some of the beliefs. He told me about the beliefs around reincarnation, about energy, about the chakras in human body, which honestly it's fascinating how those beliefs are very much aligned with the beliefs of many other cultures around the world. So I was quite fascinated to learn more about it. And then at some point, he kind of directed the topic of the conversation onto the shamans of the Inca culture. The shamans were called sabios. He told me that, by the way, I have the energy of a sabio. I have the super powerful energy and I am very enlightened, and he can feel it, that I am on another level, of course. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I am, but yeah, I was kind of seeing where the fuck this is going. When he started directed that conversation into this shamanism, he told me he's a shaman. But he still was kind of talking in the past term. He told me that Inca shamans were thought to have this magical healing ability because they vow not to ever ejaculate while having sex. And because of not ejaculating while having sex, the energy in their body is incredibly strong and it can heal diseases. So whenever an Inca shaman even just touches you with his electric penis, it can heal your energy and it can heal your diseases. Also, the whole time when he was talking to me, he was drawing those little sketches. Let me show you, because it was something. I kept this in my diary as a reminder of this amazing experience that I've had. This was like an excerpt from some sort of book with many different symbols from that culture and religion. On top of it, he was drawing a lot of different drawings of things. I hope I'm not gonna get like banned for showing this sort of thing. I think at this point he was telling me something about that healing with his penis sort of idea. Over here, beautifully, you can see a little drawing of an Inca shaman. From here, well, he doesn't ejaculate. Apparently, all his energy just like keeps inside his body, and this energy goes to his crown, and it makes him incredibly powerful in his energy. He was drawing all of this while talking to me think they're, oh yeah, that's also like actually another really interesting symbol. This is a symbol of reincarnation. That was a completely different topic. But once the topic started moving into this realm of magical electric Inca shaman penises, I started having a bit of a clearer idea as to what his intentions are. At no point did he make a move on me. I'm not sure whether he was too intimidated or too what. After quite a while of this completely endless ramble, I looked at the clock. I realized I've spent 6 solid hours sitting in a cornfield with this weird ass Inca shaman teaching me about electric penises and whatnot. So I said, well, I think it's time to go home, you know. Well, there was nothing really he could say to that, so he decided, yeah, sure, let's go home. I mean, I was just staying in a hostel locally. I didn't really want to show him where was my hostel, but I didn't really have a way to get rid of him at that point, and he wasn't incredibly pushy all up to that point. But at the moment when we got to the hostel, I actually told him I was planning to call my friend because I wanted to have a chat with my friend. That moment, his whole vibe just completely changed. From this incredibly eager, but not super pushy, just incredibly eager, his vibe just completely changed. He got so sad, and he said he really wants to meet me. He really wants to meet me after I call my friend. And he was so insistent on it. Just kept asking, please can we meet? Please can we meet? And I was like, I didn't really wanna. I really didn't wanna. Honestly, I really didn't wanna meet him. But he said, I'll give you 2 hours and after I'm gonna pick you up and we're gonna go eat something. He just kept insisting and insisting. So in the end, I said, okay, I'll meet you in 2 hours. So I went inside, called my friend, told him about this totally bonkers experience that I'm having. And then after 2 hours, quite hesitantly, but I promised, please girls, don't ever just feel like you have to do something just because a guy is begging you to do it. Just don't. I didn't regret anything I've done up to this point, but that thing I already kind of started regretting my decisions. So I met him after 2 hours outside my hostel. He came to pick me up and he actually very nicely gave me a bunch of flowers. Those were just some very raw looking flowers. I think they're literally picked out with roots from a nearest field. I dried it and I kept one of them. So this is a flower from a field in Peru. It still smells. I don't know how is that possible, but it does. He gave me a bunch of flowers and then we went to this like little bar where we were supposed to get some local food, which I never mind that. I actually really like eating locally. And once we got there, I am 90% sure I actually paid for his meal. Cause you know, I'm the rich European, rich gringa. Definitely had the money to do it, so I did it. Once we sat there and started eating, his vibe totally changed. He got incredibly moany and he started telling me that he fell in love with me. Also that I really reminded him of his Swedish ex and that he's fallen in love with me and that he can't have me leave. And at this point, I'm like, bruh, nah, you haven't fallen in love with me. You don't even know me, bruh. Stop acting pathetic, okay? Then we came out from that place and I already wanted to go home. He started making me feel uncomfortable. And on the way home, he wanted me to stop by some sort of like internet store to show me something, like, you know, like an internet cafe to show me something on the internet. He just basically was looking for any reason to just keep being with me while everything in my demeanor was already saying I'm fed up with you. He was already getting so pushy. I am pretty convinced at some point he started crying because is in love with me and I'm leaving and I declined him, whatever. Bruh, we really should have left that whole experience at the cornfield. That was weirdly appealing to experience. This shit was just fucking annoying, alright? He got so moany and so fucking annoying in the end, I just managed to leave him. Thank fuck. I left, he didn't follow me, he didn't come stalking me. I was really worried he might be the person to do that. But that's not the end of the story. As I mentioned to you before, the next day I was going for a trip to Machu Picchu. It was like an organized group trip. So at early morning time I have met up with a group of people for that trip. It was mostly bunch of women, and I actually felt compelled to tell them this weird story, like, hey girls, this weird shit happened to me yesterday. And I told everybody about that weird ass Valentine's Day that I had. The lady that organized this whole trip, which by the way I wholeheartedly recommend, and I can leave a link to her somewhere down below. If you wanna visit Machu Picchu once it's possible in a very spiritual, non-commercial manner, she just does the best trip that you could possibly go on. Anyhow, I also told it to her because she was actually living in Pisac. She lives in that village. She got quite interested because she lives there, so she was quite like weirded out about it. Then I went on the trip, that was amazing. But couple of weeks after my Machu Picchu trip, my tour guide wrote to me on Facebook and sent me a link. It was a Facebook post about an Inca shaman creeping on European women, inviting them to go to cornfield with them and telling them some inappropriate shit. I was like, oh fuck! So this is a trend for him. This guy literally goes from one European gringa to another, searching for the love of his life. Like, honestly, that guy was crying his eyes out to beg me to what? Like, bruh, he knew I was leaving the next day and not coming back there ever again. He was bawling his eyes out. Does he do this shit to every single tourist woman that he sees over there? I don't fucking know. What did I learn from this story? If you keep an open mind, life can give you some pretty fucking bonkers experiences like this. I am very grateful. Absolutely nothing bad happened to me from this whole experience. I have the most interesting memory from that weird ass Valentine's Day, which honestly beats all the other Valentine's Day that I had in all the rest of my life. I hope you enjoyed this in any way, shape or form. What else did I learn from this experience? Inca shamans have electric penises.